but today we got to talk big business, all right? Big business. You guys know what that means? That in wrestling terms, it means when you're doing really well and you're getting hot crowds and you're making a lot of money. Big business,
like what it
right?
actually means. Got you.
Yes. So AEW have been, teasing that something's gonna happen. They even named a freaking episode "Big Business." So we were expecting something big, right? Well, I don't know. That can be debated, but we'll show some highlights right off the bat. Actually, it was kind of expected, right, guys? There was a big rumor mill going around the industry, kind of like when CM Punk was going to debut in AEW on Rampage. Everybody freaking knew. The crowd was there with signs for Mercedes Mone, and there she was to open the show. First things first, right? So she went out there, cut a real babyface promo in the ring about how she loves the fans and how she loves AEW, I guess, and I don't really know what else. Nobody.
Wrestling saved your life.
Okay, yeah, it was nice. It was a nice promo. It wasn't bad. Nothing really earth-shattering or kind of like Punk when he first showed up. We're like, okay, well, let's see what happens.
Got the same vibe.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted someone to come out and say, like, who the hell are you to come, on their first day and say you own this place or you're the CEO or whatever. Like, nobody came out. Like the way nobody came out to Punk. But these were big superstars, so they gave them their 20 minutes to talk. All right, guys, well, what do you think? Who wants to give a comment about AEW's newest signing? Robert, you want to go first?
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
So, let me go back the past few weeks first. When AEW signed Will Ospreay, right, to AEW, I thought that was cool. I was a big fan. When they signed Okada, I thought that was cool too. That was a pretty good signing because I'm a fan of his too. Mercedes Mone, though, not only am I a big fan, I feel like this is more impactful than the signings of Will Ospreay and Okada, only because I feel like the women's division in AEW is really lacking. So they needed to sign some really good talent. The male roster in AEW to me is already really good. It's just there's some questionable booking, but as far talent wise on the men's side, I thought it was already pretty good. But the women that needed an improvement. And so that being said, the signing of Mercedes Mone to me was a big win. Now, whether or not they capitalize on that, we'll see. That remains to be seen. But I think this is a really good signing because, as you know, she was formerly known as Sasha Banks. Her and the rest of the four horsewomen, when they debuted on the main roster in WWE, I think way back in, what year is it, 2015, 16? I forgot already. But when they showed up, to me, they really raised the bar for women's wrestling, and she was positioned initially as like the best of the bunch, or at least that's how I perceived it, that she was the best out of the four horsewomen, and that speaks volumes to her talent. That the group that pretty much raised the standard for women's wrestling, she was pretty much at the head of it. I have nothing but good things to say about Sasha Banks, Mercedes Mone, whatever you want to call her. One of the things I want to mention about her time as Sasha Banks, I think as far as singles matches for Ronda Rousey, not many of them, in my opinion, I could label as great. Some of them, most of them are just okay or good, but not great. The one match, in my opinion, is really good enough for me to actually label as a great, fantastic match was the one that she had with Sasha Banks in I think it was Royal Rumble. I forgot what year, but they did have a singles match, and I thought that was really, really good. And that was the only singles match of Ronda Rousey's career in WWE that I could say that about. Not saying that I've watched all of them, but from my recollection of her singles matches, that really stood out. I say that more as a compliment to Sasha Banks than as an insult to Ronda Rousey. I don't think Ronda Rousey is bad at all. So I think this is a win for AEW, but let's see if they could capitalize it.
All right, Vlad, you have the floor. Do you agree?
I mean, I mostly agree with Robert. I think it's definitely a win. She's a legit star. She's a name. She can wrestle. She proved it numerous times when she was in WWE that she's a really good worker, fantastic personality, and you want to get behind her, in the sense of just like she's just really good. But my issues stem not with her. She's gonna be fine. It's just like, who is she gonna like? There's nothing for her to work with. Like there's literally zero. They got nothing going on in the women's division. Like it's the pits. It's the pits. There's nothing there. If she wanted to work with talent, it might have been better for her to go to like TNA or somewhere in Japan, go back to Japan. I don't know. I don't see anything here for her to work with. This is like literally the worst women's division maybe in the history of wrestling. So
well, when Punk showed up, he worked with all the boys. Daniel Garcia. What's that guy's Evan Bourne? And whoever's there,
but
you gotta work with whoever's there. Try to teach them up.
Yeah,
But
I'm not.
I get what you're saying, Vlad. I get what you're saying. It's been a badly booked division. I mean, I think there's some talent there. I kind of disagree with you about that. I just think it's been poorly booked. Like, where is Britt Baker? Jamie Hayter's not around. Saraya, I guess, is a star that they haven't been using. And I don't think Chris Statlander is bad, and I don't think Willow Nightingale is bad, which, you know what?
I agree.
Since we're on the topic of Mercedes Mone,
Mercedes.
let's just talk about everything that happened with her on the show, which was the end of the show, the main event, when they went back to the women's division, and the main event was going to be Riho versus Willow. And Sasha Banks.
Oh my God! How could
the main event of Big Business was Riho versus Willow, and then well, Mercedes Mone did mention that she had some unfinished business from that match they had in Stardom. I think about
right, that's right.
With
she got injured during that match, right? Is that what happened?
and she put Willow over and everything. So there's some story there so far for the hardcore wrestling fans who've been following that. But she did have her first meeting with Riho in the back, gave her some support before she headed out there for her match with Willow Nightingale, which I guess was an important match for the standings, or, who was going to go for this TBS title. And to my surprise, Riho lost to Willow. Clean. I couldn't believe it. She couldn't roll her up. It was too big. She was too big for her, although she did beat Nyla Rose. But in this one, she just got, well, I don't know what her powerbomb move is called, but it's like a sit-down powerbomb. Nailed her with it and won the match. And, there was some good sportsmanship afterwards and everything. But the House of Black turned out the lights, and Julia and Sky Blue showed up to attack Willow, and then the end of the show had Mercedes Mone coming out and clearing house. You see, this is her first interaction with Sky Blue, socked her in the face, and she's gonna get in a little move on Julia Hart too, which didn't look too bad. These are the women that Vlad are saying who is she gonna work with? Well, here they are, Vlad. I guess there's Statlander, there's Toni Storm, there's Deonna Purrazzo. Who knows if Britt Baker's ever gonna come back? I don't know what the hell's going on there. Maybe they just can't find an angle that she's willing to do or something. I don't really. Well,
I'm just gonna say this. I don't know how it's gonna end with her in AEW, but same way that we thought with Punk that it would work out. I think at some point she just might get tired of this nonsense, because let's not forget, she made event at WrestleMania with Bianca Belair, monumental WrestleMania, 2 black women, right? And now she's
great match
working with Willow and Julia Hart. No offense to them, but I mean, it's like apples and oranges, right? I mean, what we're talking about here. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all this. She is a legit name in the wrestling business. She's been proven that she's very good. I just don't have any hopes that they're going to use her correctly, or that you can use her correctly when nobody cares about anybody else that she's really working with. I like Willow too. I think there is something there, or even Statlander, even Julia Hart could be as a character was okay, but they haven't really done anything with them that's at all interesting. Any of these people, any of them. So,
all right. Well, I'll just say to close out our Mercedes Mone segment that for what Robert said about how she's might be more of an impactful signing than Osprey and Okada, I guess I could agree with that because she's from WWE, first of all, so a lot of American
People
people
actually know who
her.
she is.
Yeah,
Like, just
other
call
than the
it
hardcore
nobody
marks.
knows. Nobody outside of the 700,000 people that already watch this know who Okada or Will Ospreay is. I'm sorry. I don't care how good people think they are. Nobody cares. They do care about Mercedes Mone.
Yeah.
They do care.
So this is like a Bryan Danielson, CM Punk level signing in that sense.
Yes.
And they have,
Yes.
focused on certain people. If I could respond to what Vlad said, I know a lot of people's pushes kind of just get derailed for whatever reason, but certain people have gotten coherent pushes inexplicably.
Mhm.
Like Adam Cole, they couldn't not let him have his push. MJF had his push.
Of course.
CM Punk would have had his push if he could have stayed healthy. So
even if he wasn't, even though he wasn't healthy, he still had a push. He was
yes, they kept trying, but this is one of them that they could be like, all right, this is such a big signing that they have to at least try to keep going with whatever storyline they're going with, and they're gonna try to make it work as best as they could. It's important.
They will try. How they try, I don't know, but yes, if they're smart, they obviously will put her in the top tier spot. That goes without saying.